Bitcoin has been struggling since July 2025, and you still got bulltards telling you, convincing you that we're going up higher. Use your thinking caps, lads. We've been speaking about Bitcoin being in a bear market since July. We're gonna see lower prices. I know many folks are trying to convince you right now that we're heading up higher. We just need to break 100k, guys. We need to break 110k. We're gonna see all-time new highs, yada yada. But the reality is, ladies and gentlemen, Bitcoin has been struggling for a very long time. We said on this channel, once it breaks the golden support, it's confirmation of a bear market. Yeah, you don't even need to look at the 50-day SMA or whatnot and this and that. As soon as it breaks down underneath the golden support, well, there's your answer. Broke down the golden support, broke down again the golden support, broke down again the golden support, broke down again the golden support. You don't even need to look at this, what they're looking at, the 50-day moving average. You don't even need to look at this SMA line, to be fair. All you have to look at, I know everyone's looking at this, the entire crypto industry is looking at the 50 SMA. All of them, every single one is looking at this, and every time we have gone 2 weeks underneath the 50 SMA, is confirmation of a bear market. But you don't need to be a rocket scientist to see this. Even Ray Charles can see what's happening here. Every time we go underneath, bear market. Every time we go underneath, bear market. Every time we go underneath, bear market, and so on and so forth. There are many folks getting desperate now, and they believe that it's going to be an extended cycle. So now they're looking at the 100 SMA. No longer are they using the 50 SMA. Now they want to push the boundaries. They want to push the targets, push the goalposts, because they're getting desperate. And they're using the 100 SMA. And every time it goes underneath the 100 SMA, it's categorically a bear market. Charts are all universal. I don't listen to the news. I don't watch the news. I don't give a fuck about the news. I don't care if Jay Powell is getting hit by a subpoena. I don't care. I won't cover it. I don't care. It's extremely rare that the news actually moves the markets. There are only a few times where you buy the rumor, sell the news, but the rest is all priced in. This is the example I want to show you. Every time we're above the golden support, very simple. You can use this in anything. We are in a bull market. And as you can see here, just for marketing purposes, I call this the money line. It keeps bouncing on the money line. You see this? Bounces on the money line. You keep DCAing, you keep buying and buying and buying. Once we go underneath the golden support, ladies and gentlemen, just like Bitcoin is currently right now, it's a bear market. And every time buyers step in, say the same shit that they always say, we're going up higher, we're going to see 200k, 300k, 500k, and the momentum stalls and we go back down. Again, buyers regroup, they try to move the needle, push the markets, and guess what happens? It hits this right over here. But by then, once we turn negative on the golden support, it's a bloody bear market. It's a vicious bear market. And then it takes a long time to see prices go above the golden support. Once it's above the golden support, ladies and gentlemen, that's a buy. I know everyone's looking at the news, looking at Clarity Act, looking at X, looking at their feed. Guys, you don't need to watch any of that. You just need to look at a simple chart and distinguish whether we're in a bull or a bear market. Once we see the very early innings of a bull market, you will know it will flip bullish. We've spoken about this many times, and as you can see right over here, we bounced on the RSI, we bounced again on the RSI, we bounced again right over here, and unfortunately this time we broke down. That's a bear market. Just like we saw just over here, ladies and gentlemen, same thing happened here. We bounced over here, same thing. Technically, we bounced over here, we bounced again, and unfortunately we couldn't bounce over here, formed a dead cat bounce, and then we headed back down to the lower regions of 17,000 US dollars. Finally, the 2017 cycle, as you can see right over here on the RSIs, we bounced some more. Plenty of bounces, juicy buy the dip opportunities, plenty of buy the dip opportunities, numerous times, as you can see. And then finally we broke down. As you can see here, we broke down, and then we had a vicious bear market. This is a linear chart. As you can see, we made a blow off top over here. Then we made another second top over here. As you can see right over here, same thing, we made initial top. This was due to the ETF and everyone was front running it, etc, etc. And then now we had another blow off top. This was very misleading, but this was the area that we formed another double top over here, a slightly higher high compared to here. Now we're doing the exact same thing as 2022. Now you don't need to be Ray Charles to see this. Even a kindergartner can see that this is picture perfect to this. Matter of fact, I'm going to zoom in on the lower time frame. I know some of you bulltards struggle with pattern recognition. This over here is this current bear market. This over here is the previous bear market where most of you started from. It's almost identical. We made a low over here. That's why I was screaming November the 21st, saying this is the categoric bottom. This is the reason it's playing out perfectly. We formed a double top, a triple top, and then another top, ladies and gentlemen, and then finally we broke out over here in the previous bear market. In the previous cycle, we formed one top, second top, and then we finally broke out. We formed a bottom right over here, and then we formed another trend line right over here, as you can see. Likewise, exact same pattern right over here, then again right over here. Then finally we broke out. Finally we peaked over here, peaked right over here. This is the top. If we break down once again underneath this candle, break this, then it's picture perfect, identical. Markets do the same thing. Nothing is new in crypto. If it doesn't play out exactly the same, which I don't think it will, then it's heading to 103,000 US dollars to 105,000 US dollars. I say this because Bitcoin went all the way to this area right over here and it had the most confluence. As you can see here, it bounced numerous times. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. It changed hands the most. So if it does not play out exactly the same, then most likely we're heading to this higher range right over here where it changed hands the most, which is around 100,000 US dollars. It hit this area so many times, 1, 2, 3, multiple times, and most likely we might just have one last push to 100k, and everyone in the room will be convinced, whether it's a bull market or a bear market, everyone in the room will have their confirmation. Simple as that. Either we reject this or we break past this area of around 102, 103,000 US dollars, confirm, and then we'll know the answer. On the internet, unfortunately, the algorithm pushes only two types of contents: Permabears and Permabulls. So on the internet, you're going to see this. Perma retard bulls are talking about we're still here. Hope. We're at the hope stage. We still have more to go. And then you have the bears saying that we're at complacency and we still have a long way to go. Now, the truth of the matter is we're actually at anxiety. We passed complacency, ladies and gentlemen. We're at anxiety stage. This is the part where we retest the previous support and confirm it as resistance. And then we're at denial, and then finally panic, anger, capitulation, depression. I want to say this, and I want to remind people, there's going to be a lot of distress. Like, I've been through this, I've seen this. It's only money, guys. Yeah, and there's always a bull market somewhere. There's going to be a lot of distress soon. And the sooner we go through this bear market, the sooner we can get through this capitulation moment, the easier everything's going to become. I promise you that. The quicker we go through this, the easier it is. You don't want this market to be heading sideways and doing nothing, and we're having a time-based capitulation. You rather have a massive price-based capitulation, and then I can finally turn into a bull. Yeah, I've been speaking about this for a long time, that we're heading into a bear market for a very, very long time, ladies and gentlemen. I'm kind of getting bored. I want this bear market to go as quickly as possible. There is a strong argument that because Bitcoin never ended on mania, it never had its blow off top, it had this weird cycle where it was just kind of calculated. It doesn't look like gold or silver. Gold is going through a massive parabolic run. Silver is having its mania moment, yet Bitcoin never had that moment. And it is true that because it never saw its mania, then we won't see a massive bear market, which is a valid point. I'll give you an example of XRP. XRP in 2021, ladies and gentlemen, ended on apathy. It ended on apathy. Yet the bear market wasn't as brutal as the first mania run it had. It went down 96% during the first mania, while the second run, it went down by 85%, ladies and gentlemen. As of now, data shows that Bitcoin is behaving like 2022. Once that changes, ladies and gentlemen, then I'll change my opinion to 2019. Once that changes, or if that changes, then it's most likely 2019. MicroStrategy is one of the best indicators to see how far we are in a bear market. Currently, we're doing the same thing that we've done right over here, ladies and gentlemen, in 2022. No surprises here on this channel, ladies and gentlemen. You know what time it is when you see me. You know exactly what time. Look at the In the previous cycle, we peaked right over here, a blow off top, peaked right over here, formed a blow off top, then we formed a right shoulder, now we're doing a retracement back to the scene of the crime right over here, ladies and gentlemen. We're doing the same thing that we've done, and we're retracing back to the scene of the crime, and then we get rejected and have an epic fall of around 74%. That's why I think Bitcoin still has some more room to grow, because MicroStrategy hasn't got to this area yet. So Bitcoin could probably go to 110 while this catches up. The S&P 500, I've been saying this again and again and again, and I said that the S&P 500 has peaked. Almost every midterm election, the S&P 500 goes down. There's a few occasions where it does go up, ladies and gentlemen. As for Bitcoin, ladies and gentlemen, it's categoric. Every single midterm, we have faced a bear market. Ladies and gentlemen, I give you the piece de resistance. This is the S&P 500. We have peaked, ladies and gentlemen. Yes, I have been premature, and I might be premature now. We might go up higher, but I'm telling you guys, it's peaked. The NASDAQ has peaked. I've been saying this almost every episode. I know we're heading into a correction, but the canary in the coal mine for me is the Russell 2000. I think there's a rotation happening, and it's happening in smaller cap stocks. Some of the unloved, neglected stocks are seeing a re-emergence. Let's have a look at the wider crypto space. Ethereum, like we mentioned before, it will bottom right over here, head up higher to these higher ranges, just like it did in this previous cycle. Almost picture perfect, ladies and gentlemen. We covered this. Now count with me. Some of you are very slow. We had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 weekly candles above the 100 SMA. We're going to do the same thing above the 200 SMA. We're currently at week 8. We're going to get to week 9 and 10. It will peak between 3,600 and 3,900 US dollars. And then eventually it heads down, and then you have the marketers talk shit on the timeline, talking about, yeah, this is not meant to happen, guys. This was never meant to. Oh my God, what's happening? I can't believe. The truth of the matter was, we were heading down anyway. We were in a bear market anyway. Please, on this channel, do not be surprised. We're in a vicious bear market. This is the total crypto market. We're underneath the golden support. Whenever we do this, ladies and gentlemen, that's a confirmation of a bear market. Once it turns negative, turns red, just like this, well, that's it. By then, it's too late, guys. It's pretty much too late. With all this bullish news, the entire crypto market, excluding Bitcoin, only made a double top. We're back at the same region we were in 2021. This looks like a massive rejection. This is the entire market cap, excluding the top 10. And I hear a lot of folks talking about the Clarity Act. Clarity this, clarity that. My friends, you fucking bulltards. Don't you understand? It was already determined that it was never going to happen. Read the charts and they tell you the news. Simple as that. Altcoins have been going down collectively in dominance by 75%. And your wishful thinking actually believed that the Clarity Act was going to go through. You could have simply just looked at the charts and you would have known already. This is our roadmap, ladies and gentlemen. I've spoken about this many times on the channel. I think a few of you are familiar with this chart. We've been underneath this trend line since 2018. We've been in a bear market since 2021, almost 5 years, ladies and gentlemen, underperforming Bitcoin. On the longer span of things, we've been underperforming. Now, we haven't even filled the wick. We still haven't filled the wick because numerous people are very stubborn, and they keep saying the same shit again and again. They keep trying to sell you fluff. They keep trying to sell you vaporware, and every time we get rejected, all the time. How about for once crypto actually makes something in the real world? How about for once you actually make something that is used in the fucking real world? Then maybe, just maybe, things will go up. As for now, ladies and gentlemen, we're gonna fill this wick to this area of 0.27. 0.27 is very important. We've hit this numerous times. 1, 2, 3, 4 times, okay? But we don't bounce automatically. Matter of fact, we range after that for quite some time. From here to here, ladies and gentlemen, as soon as we hit 0.27 till here, it took 547 days. If history plays out again, and whenever we hit 0.27, maybe in March we hit 0.27, that will take 500 days. So around September 2025, we could see a reversion. However, this cycle took a long time to play out. Already, it's been 1,470 days. Compare that with the previous cycle where it took us to get to 0.27, only a mere 600 days. If this cycle is elongated, then you can add maybe 1,000 days, double it, and it will get us to around September 2028. Finally, the space is maturing. The space is growing up. There's a lot of grifters, a lot of marketers in the space, a lot of salesmen, snake oil salesmen, so on and so forth. And now the market has an index fund. This is CoinMarketCap Top 100 Index Fund. It has 65% allocated to Bitcoin, then it has 5.89% to Ethereum, then you have BNB, XRP, Solana, Tron, Doge, Cardano, Bitcoin, Monero, and so on and so forth. And then you have like small allocations to the remainder of the top 100. You can buy this for $190 and just DCA into an index like we have in traditional markets. The ratio changes depending on the Bitcoin dominance and depending on the market dynamics. I spoke about this to my private members. This is an RWA play in the real world, ladies and gentlemen. This is an actual stock listed on the NASDAQ in the real world. You're not going to find rug pulls here, ladies and gentlemen. This is a real company with real revenues, and it uses blockchain technology, ladies and gentlemen. Its revenue growth in this quarter was a massive 86%, reaching 135 million in its last quarter. Figure introduced Open, which permits companies to issue equity directly on the blockchain. Unlike synthetic tokenized stocks, Open's tokens represent genuine equity ownership that shareholders can lend or borrow against, entirely circumventing traditional intermediaries such as prime brokers, custodians, and exchanges. You can buy this on Robinhood. Everyone should have Robinhood by now. You should have it. It's got crypto, it's got stocks, it has RWA, it has blockchain technology, it has everything. Matter of fact, dare I say it, I'm going to say it, it's better than Coinbase.